Welcome back to the Socially Delightful podcast, everyone. Oh my gosh, today I have Joy McCarthy joined with us. She's a holistic nutritionist and the founder of joyoushealth.com. It's an award-winning blog, and she's the co-founder of Hello Joyous, which is an organic and plant-forward beauty brand with a rock-solid mission to help people find more joy in the everyday. So, Joy, you have written so many cookbooks. You've been featured in so many places, and you had for the longest time such a beautiful podcast with how many episodes, over 100.
Yes, over
Yeah.
100. But as you know, it's lots of work. And when you have so many things going on, yeah. And sadly, something's got to give, right?
Right. But I'm just so excited to talk with you today, and I love your mission and about bringing joy to help and really overlapping the two. I personally, and I was thinking about this uh quite a bit as I was getting ready for our interview. I was like, wow, I actually don't think in our current culture that we associate the two together. I think we associate health with a chore. So
So true.
and I know it's your name, right? Joy, but I love the joyous part of it. So can you tell us a bit about how you got involved in this and how this journey began for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like my whole life I've been a student of nutrition. Even when I was a kid, I was always really interested in how the human body worked. I was interested in food. I was interested in fitness. And then in my late teens, early 20s, I developed some health issues despite being what I thought was so healthy. And I had hormonal imbalance and my hair was thinning. I had anxiety. I had a lot of digestive problems. So, I spent a couple years going from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, and I wasn't getting any better. I was actually getting worse. I was trying different medications. And it wasn't until I kind of turned to natural health to try something different that I was actually able to heal my body. My hair grew back thick again. My anxiety severely diminished in the most positive way possible. And my digestive issues that I had gone. So I went to the doctor to have my blood work done. Let's see what's going on with my hormones, and everything was balanced. Yet, despite years of feeling unwell and doing what I thought were all the right things, it wasn't until I tried something different. And so that was kind of what inspired me to really dive deeper into studying nutrition and eventually become a nutritionist, because I realized, if I have these health issues and I talk to other women and friends who have similar health issues who aren't getting the support they need, clearly there's a lot of women out there, young women, all age women, who need my help. So I really wanted to go back to school to learn more so that it could help more people become really thrive. Because I think a lot of people think that health is just not getting a cold or a flu,
Mm.
but health is so much more than that. Health is feeling joyous, feeling good. If you do get sick, you're not taken out for 2 weeks. You can get over it, and you have stable energy and all the things. So that's a little bit about my story and kind of why I got into studying nutrition. And I think there's a lot of health practitioners similar to me, and a lot of people in the wellness industry who get into it because they've had their own sort of healing journey.
Yeah. And I mean, I could probably have you for 2 hours just to talk about everything that you just said, because I found myself getting really frustrated with trying to figure out to how to feel healthy, how to
Mhm.
be healthy, and I was getting really frustrated going to the doctor and then being like, "Well, not you're fine." And I was like, "I know I'm fine, but what can I do to support myself? Support my body?" And they were like, "Well, work out, eat well." And I was like, "What does that mean?" Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it can also be uh I just think frustrating in general to find people that want to have those kind of conversations with you, at doctors and things like that, because in my opinion, I think we have a sick care system in the States. I don't think we have a
100%.
health care system. And yeah, and again, I said this to you at the beginning, but I love that joy is such a part of your mission. Like everything that you touch has mentioned, like, yeah, like we're about spreading joy. Like we're about spreading joy. So I'm curious to you, how do you see, or curious to you, I'm curious, how do you see the overlap between like joy and health?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, when you feel healthy and you feel well, you feel a sense of joy. It's easier to experience joy. It's easier to have gratitude and enjoy the moment. It's more it takes more effort and more work when you're feeling unwell to experience joy. I think it's very important though when you are going through a healing journey and you are unwell, to have habits in place that can bring you joy because your emotional wellness is so tied to your overall wellness. You know, what you think you become. And there's lots of research, like, cellular biologist Bruce Lipton has studied this for years, showing that like what we manifest up here, we manifest in our body. So the two are so connected. And I've always, as a nutritionist and a co founder of a beauty brand, I've always I really want people to experience joy in their life and do that by focusing on wellness habits that bring them joy. Because when we eat a well-balanced diet, for example, if you want to get like nitty-gritty, when you make sure you eat enough protein and you get enough amino acids, you're getting the building blocks to make neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that make you feel happy and blissful. Now, I'm not saying that nutrition is the only thing, but it's a piece of the puzzle of your wellness. So, if you can get your nutrition on track and you can focus on supporting your mental health, that in of itself can bring you more joy. But again, that is really only one piece of the puzzle because there's so much more. Your relationships, your social connections. I know you talk a lot about that, but those are all sources of joy. So, whether I am on a podcast or I'm sharing something on Instagram or I'm writing content for Joyous Health, I am always on a mission that, okay, I want this recipe to bring someone joy. I want this information or this product that someone's going to use, or this DIY lip balm that someone's going to make to bring some sort of joy to their life.
Yeah. To bring a little bit of you, right? Like,
Happiness,
yeah.
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 And it's not
Yeah.
about, there's a fine line, right, of like toxic positivity.
Mhm.
Um, it's not about being joyous all the time. Like, we're all human. But I do think that living a well balanced life, as much as I hate using that word balance, because like who is really balanced? But thinking about all the pieces of the puzzle that make you happy and healthy and joyful, um, I think you can really achieve joy and wellness when you are looking at your wellness from a very holistic perspective. It's not just about some people, it's all about financial security, right? Some people,
Mhm.
it's all about having a loving, healthy relationship. But it's
Mhm.
all of those buckets, which might seem overwhelming to some, but really that's the reality. It's not about perfection, but it's about working on all of the buckets that make you happy, that bring you joy. And they're all equally important.
1,000%. Which I do want to get into some stories because, and also actually, I just want to tell you, like, person to person, part of the reason why I got into this work was similar, if you will, but just like
Hmm.
different paths. And I was getting really frustrated with seeing friendship, social connection not be talked about when it's such an important part
Yes,
of that
absolutely.
puzzle, right? And it's something that I was like, there's no like social scripts for this out there for like friendship and in our modern world today. And so I just really appreciate you talking about that and talking about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I do want to ask you a bit about the importance of like a wellness routine and why it doesn't have to be complicated. And I do want to ask you about that. And then we can lead into some of these stories because I think it'll be really fun to hear your take on them. But could you tell us a bit about the wellness routine and about how it doesn't have to be perfect or complicated? But I can imagine somebody hearing this and maybe, they're like me where they were like, what? Why can't I talk to my doctor about my health and like get actual like great direction? Or they are like scrolling Instagram and they're seeing like the everything be aesthetic and perfect, and then they're like, oh my gosh, how, like, this is like a second job. And so could you tell us a bit about the importance of a wellness routine, but also why
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be perfect or complicated?
Yeah, so we need I like when you think about social media, it can be very overwhelming because you see, the mom of 3 kids or someone who's working a full-time job and studying to get their degree, and they're still managing to do 2 hours of journaling in the morning and an hour of yoga and their nature walk and making all their food. Like, let's just be real, that most of the time is not realistic. That's really not happening. If it is, wow, they have the secret sauce. But what I think it's really about is just having a few good habits, things that you do for yourself every day. If you're not doing anything from a wellness perspective for yourself currently, um, anyone who's listening to this, then what I suggest is start out with just like one good thing. And then each week add one more good thing. So it's not so overwhelming. So someone, for example, who like doesn't eat breakfast and the first thing that passes by their lips is like a frappuccino or like a mocha loaded with sugar from Starbucks at 11 a.m. Not the best choice, because it fires your blood sugar. It just causes a whole cascade of problems throughout the day. So if that's something that someone's doing, then a simple thing could be first thing in the morning or the night before, you put together your smoothie ingredients so you have them first thing in the morning to dump into your blender. Make sure you get your protein and your fat. Very, very stabilizing. So your mood feels stable, your energy feels stable. And that's like one good thing. So, and then build on those good things, because as you continue to build on these good things, it puts you on this upward trajectory of feeling better. And when you feel better, you want to do more good things for yourself because you have better energy because you're doing that one good thing. And then you get to a point where you might be doing 5 good things for yourself a day. That might be, always scheduling a call or a Zoom with a friend for 10, 20 minutes just to talk about your day and have a tea. Maybe that is going out for a 10, 20-minute brisk walk. Maybe that's like making that smoothie or having some eggs for breakfast, but like building on those wellness habits. If I shared my wellness routine, I think that probably would overwhelm some people, but this is my whole life. I've spent my whole life as a nutritionist building these wellness routines. I've had a lot of time to work on them. So if someone's just starting out, there's, simple things to start with.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And does it sound familiar, anybody, for how we talk about like a lot of our friendship habits and stuff? It reminds me too of perfectionism so much, and that's actually what
Mm,
causes a lot of social anxiety is
absolutely.
perfectionism. It's trying to say the perfect thing, get the perfect reaction. And as you're talking about building habits and being like, okay, what can I do to like shift? I think we also have to recognize like whatever that thing is that we shift is enough, and like starting from there. And this is something that comes up, y'all, like all the time for clients, whether it is social anxiety, friendship, but honestly too, whether it is like their self-care or like their uh meetings that they're hosting at work, where they will be like, okay, it needs to be like this, like check a box if I did these things. So like if I hung out with a friend and we had a really great time and we did an activity, then like that counts, right? And then if I don't see that friend in person and maybe I
Mm,
just send them a voice message like, well, I'm not really hitting my like quote unquote goal of like hanging out with people. Or let's say somebody is, wakes up late or is, not feeling good or having the busiest week of their life. Maybe they made the habit of like creating a breakfast that is full of like protein, and maybe that day, like the best they can do is a protein shake. And I think we need to everybody to understand that consistency is really looks like, in my opinion, like a spectrum, right? I this is also like very vulnerable and dorky, but for the longest time, I really struggled with like working out because I saw it as like, okay, I need to go to the gym
mm,
and I need to work out hard for at least an hour, like do strength training, etc. And then whenever I didn't hit that, like, and like I think it was like 4 times a week, then I was like really bummed out.
Mm.
And that zaps your motivation, everybody, right? And so giving myself like, okay, no, it's a spectrum. My goal is to move my body. And so I literally wrote out like a spectrum, like a line and like two endpoints. And I was like, okay, some days it's literally just going to be me doing yoga in my house. And could be because I'm, feeling really emotional that day. That could be because I'm really busy. And so I love the way that you talk about it. I could probably talk to you about 1,000 things forever, Joy.
I really like that you have that spectrum though, because and I feel like it changes too as you age. I feel like
Mhm.
because I feel like for sure in my 20s, I don't know how old you are. I'm guessing maybe in your 20s, but I maybe younger, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm 28. I do have a baby face, but yeah.
Okay, wow, wow. Yeah, you look so much younger. Okay, but you're in your 20s. I would say too when I was in my 20s, I definitely had that like, oh my God, if I'm not like dripping in sweat and heart pounding for an hour, then I haven't worked out. And I feel like the ease on yourself, I mean, I know this is very personal to me, but like sharing like with other girlfriends, I feel like as you age, you start to be more gentle on yourself. I feel like as I've gone like now, I do something every day, but to your point, like it might just be lifting weights for 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay, good, done. That's all I had energy for. But like, I like the fact that you're recognizing like some days you don't feel like it and that's okay. But just
Yeah.
moving your body, I think is key. And sometimes if you just feel like laying on the couch all day and you really just need a day of rest, sometimes we really just need to honor that. It
Mhm.
can be challenging though, finding the distinction between okay, am I just lazing on the couch for days on end? When do I need to push myself? And I think that just comes down to self awareness, knowing when you need to push yourself and when you need to just like allow your body to rest.
Mhm. Yeah, and that can be built over time, right? Like
For
understanding that and
sure.
having experience of that, which is what I think like age allows, if you will, is like having like those experiences and then those new thoughts. Uh yeah, so I love that. I love that. Okay, I just want to talk to you forever, but I really loved these stories, and so I really want to get your take on them too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, are you familiar with Reddit at all,
Mhm.
Joy?
Yep.
You are? Okay. So, I'm going to read a story. It's from a subreddit called Am I the Asshole? And it is titled Am I the asshole for not accommodating my friend with health problems? So, I, 24 female, have inherited my parents' house and money a few months ago after they passed away.
No.
It's a 3 bed, 2 bath, and I moved into it almost immediately and then invited a friend and her fiance, 24 female and 26 male, to stay with me since they were having some financial issues. I gave them the bathroom upstairs as well as the smaller bedroom. I have a lot of clothes, so I converted the bigger one into an extra closet for me. They moved in last week while I was away for a business trip, and when I came home, they sat me down and asked if they could have the master bedroom, and I moved into the smaller one. The master bedroom is huge. My parents had the house custom built for them when they got married, and they didn't plan on having kids, so the master bedroom takes up the majority of the upstairs. The bathroom is huge with a tub, walk in shower, vanity, and 2 sinks. However, when I moved in, I paid $50,000 to have the entire bathroom remodeled. I said no because it was my house and I'm paying the majority of the bills. They pay a fourth. And the fact that I couldn't fit all my stuff in the smaller room. They argued if I couldn't fit my stuff, then they couldn't fit the stuff of 2 people. They went on to explain how my friend has IBS and other digestive problems, as well as autism, and baths help comfort her. Their bathroom does have a bath, but it's not as big as mine, but it still works. I still said no, and I'm sorry that she's going through that. She complained that it's tough for her to run out of the room and into the bathroom a couple doors down. And then they mentioned how I am planning on getting the basement remodeled and that I could remodel it to fit their needs. And I once again said no because I'm converting it into an office space for my boyfriend. He is currently in a master's program since we both will work from home. They said they feel like I didn't care about her health problems and that I was being rude for helping them when they needed it. And I reminded them that this is not a permanent situation, and then they stormed off. It's been a week and they've still refused to move their boxes upstairs until I stopped. Some friends are saying that I am the asshole for not letting them stay until the room until they move out. Or even just moving my stuff out of the bigger bedroom and let something letting some of their stuff stay there. Okay, this is a little I am kind of surprised. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out what they said.
I kind of get the
Okay.
gist of where they're going with it. We can even like just talk about what you've read so far.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll end with okay, wait, actually I think I get it. Okay. So basically then they go on to say that other friends are saying like, "Oh no, they're not the asshole." And then they ask, "So am I the asshole? What do you think, Joy?"
I don't think they're the asshole at all. I think it's this no. In short, I think that this person has been very generous to have them live in their home, which it sounds for only paying 25% rent or
Mhm.
something. So I think that person is in I think that person's been extremely generous, and you have to be careful with some people because they will take advantage. It's not their house. She's already letting them stay there at a reduced rate. And if this couple has their own bathroom to share, it sounds like it's not an ensuite bathroom, but they have their own bathroom with a bathtub. No, I do not think that person's an asshole. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree with you. And I I can
Did you ever see that
understand.
show, Worst? Have you seen that show, Worst Roommate Ever on
I have.
Netflix? As you were talking about it, that reminded me of it because I'm like, oh my God, what about when she wants them to actually move out? Are they going to like just leave all their stuff there?
Yeah, like squatters' rights.
Yeah, it can be exactly. It can be tricky. Did she say that they're friends of hers, right? It can be tricky
Mhm.
though, like living like that kind of situation with a friend can be tricky, you know. It can unfortunately those kinds of things can like ruin relationships sadly.
Mhm. No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I really thought about this one, so I skimmed it because I tried to not like be. I don't have y'all be prepared, so I'm gonna try not to be prepared about the story either. And I am curious because this story to me so evident, so clear. Like everything that you said, I do not think this person is the asshole. I think I would advise this person to come up with like, okay, how long are you going to be here? Because I do think that, oh, could you remodel the basement to fit us does sound like they're thinking it's going to be at least a really long time. And I am curious if they're not on the same page as that. Uh,
Yeah, they have like what is their communication? Are they having is she you know what? Sometimes we make up all these stories in our head and then we're like we just assume that the other people know how we really feel. So does this couple actually know how she really feels? Maybe she's not communicating this to them, right? And she's just
yeah.
like, "Oh, this is good. I'm so happy you're here." When really she's like, "Oh my God, I hate this." So like it's on her as well to be
Yeah.
like, "No, this doesn't work for me and you have until X date to figure your shit out basically."
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I agree 1,000%. Like, it's so well said. It makes me wonder though, because and maybe this is like insensitive because I do think IBS, like I have friends with IBS. I think everybody's had a moment or an
Yeah,
experience where like uh it's been hard to get to the bathroom in time.
for
And so
sure.
I can imagine that be frustrating, but I'm also like, okay, a couple of doors down. So like I don't know if that is as good of a reason as they might think, right? Like, okay, you have to walk a couple of doors down a hallway. But it makes me wonder too. I don't know if there's a health situation that would make sense to accommodate in like a kind of house situation that this person's in.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
what do you think?
I just don't I think each of us, we have to take responsibility for our own wellness and our health. My health and wellness is no one else's responsibility, and I would never pin that on someone else. So I think in this case, I think her pinning this health issue on her friend is very irresponsible and quite frankly ridiculous. So it's not this girl's responsibility to she's not her mother, she's not her sister. It's not her responsibility to make sure that she has adequate up to her expectation bathroom facilities. Like if you have an issue, you take care of it yourself. So
Mhm.
maybe that's a little bit tough, but That's my take.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Which actually though is such a good segue into our next story. So this is coming from the subreddit called Lose It, and this person titled it, "How am I to deal with my best friend trying to sabotage my health journey?" And so I'm
Okay.
24 years, right? It's really interesting. So I'm 24 years old and I've developed extremely unhealthy eating habits and a sedentary lifestyle since I started a soul sucking finance job 2 years ago. I felt miserable on the inside and got stressed easily without a release and didn't look attractive or feel confident anymore. I was about 15 pounds overweight, but it made a huge difference on my frame. I finally decided I needed to start taking care of my body and therefore my mind and overall lifestyle. I got a personal trainer, a gym membership, and obviously have been watching my diet and have some great newbie gains. It's to the point where I don't even feel tempted to eat junk food or drink alcohol anymore. I try not to restrict my cravings, so I feel like having a chocolate or a pack of chips or a glass of wine every now and then, I do. I look and feel so much better and have found a routine that really works for me. But the issue is, my best friend is quite overweight, she always has been, and seemingly gets triggered by my diet choices, even though I don't mention anything about diet or exercise because I know it's a trigger for her. For instance, if I choose to order a salad at a restaurant, she'll put up the number of calories in pasta on Google and show it to me. Sorry, but the pasta you want me to order does not just have 250 calories. It's probably 5 times that. And it's not even just calories. I don't even enjoy pasta in general. It's just not something that's it's not something that's worth me indulging in, and I just don't feel like it's worth it. She basically keeps implying that I have an eating disorder when I don't.
Mm.
Since when is eating full healthy meals and getting in shape synonymous with disordered eating? And how do I manage my fitness journey with a friend who is not supportive and is taking my lifestyle choices personally? Outside of this, we have a lovely friendship and I don't want to lose it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but it's a very straightforward answer. So the person who's writing that, it's not her problem, it's her best friend's problem. So she really has to identify, is this friendship worth continuing? Because clearly this friend is very threatened by her doing good things for herself. And is that a true friendship if someone doesn't want you to feel your best, look your best, do all these good things for yourself? And it's interesting you read this one because I feel like I've seen a trend on social media where sharing your health habits and things that you're doing good for yourself, there's been a trend towards looking down on that. Like perhaps it's not, oh, you might have an eating disorder or you're orthorexic, when really in this case it doesn't. I mean, we don't know this woman, know this girl, so we don't know for sure, but to me it doesn't sound like she has an issue. It sounds like she has taken responsibility for her well-being. She's an advocate for her own health. She's doing amazing. Like, way to go, thumbs up to you. And this friend is just feeling very threatened by her success. And I really find that some friendships, we try and hang on to them, and sometimes we actually need to let them go and
Mhm.
see where that goes. And I have found that over the years myself. Some friendships come and go because if you're not aligned on certain things, it can be hard to have a true connection. And maybe this girl's really struggling with that because they've been friends for a really long time and they're not kind of on the same page. That can be really tough to figure out how to navigate that. So I feel for her.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
No, definitely. And friendships do change every 7 years. And what that really means is sometimes, like, somebody that you have a best friend with becomes like a little bit more of just like a friend. And sometimes, people like leave your sphere, new people come in. And I think that can be a beautiful part about friendship. And like tapestry is how flexible it can be and stuff like that. And I do think when it comes to friendship nowadays, though, that we do have some people, because it's such a case by case basis, right? We do have some people that like really will hold on to friendships, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. One, we have like such a loneliness gap that I think when we do have friendships, we're like, well, shoot. I really
Mm.
don't want to lose this because this is going to create such a connection gap in my life, right? Like I'm really not filling in and like if you will like meeting new people, being a part of the community, taking like my social fitness and my social health as seriously, right? Like that's not as much of a part of my life. And so I think that can be a huge reason. But I also know that the research shows that women are more likely to end friendships compared to men.
Mm. Oh,
Granted, men
interesting.
typically don't make new friends. They typically
Mm.
have friends from like high school and college, and those are just their friends for life.
Now, when you
Uh,
say end friendships, do you mean like having an official, like, we're done, or like just allowing the universe to kind of figure it out?
yeah, or the slow fade. So it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be like a friend breakup conversation, but it
Yeah.
could also be like the like just backing away, like nope, or there's like a falling out. I hear that a lot. Like there's like a fight, and then it's just like maybe it wasn't as like we're not friends anymore, but it was just like a stark fade after that.
Yeah.
Uh, but basically, like female friendships are more fickle. Like they're more likely to end.
Mm. Oh,
And
interesting.
part of like Danielle Bayard Jackson, she kind of has this theory where women aren't as comfortable with like competition or jealousy compared to
Yeah.
men are. And in this moment, I think we can tell that this friend is jealous, right? Or feeling insecure. And so she's
Hmm.
projecting that. And because, women have been held back in a lot of areas historically, we tend to be like, no, you need to be rooting for me all the time, bestie.
Mm.
And if you're not, then I don't want to be around you, which is fair. But I just think this conversation, or actually, I think this person, it doesn't sound like they have had a conversation with this friend yet. Like they've just been like, yeah, these things are really bothering me. And I could tell like my friend is feeling insecure. And like I don't even bring up my exercise or my diet, which is probably something this person maybe wants to talk about, which they
Hmm.
can obviously go to other people for that. But I would just wonder if a conversation, and sometimes people aren't capable of having those, but like a conversation of, hey, I am noticing this. Like, and I want to figure this out. I do think that is really worth it. And that's something that a lot of us don't do, especially in our friendships. Like, we really will just avoid conflict and then just
So
do the
true.
slow fade. So, I don't know. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
I think what you said is very mature, and really, like, if she values this friendship, then having that open communication and really having that difficult conversation and saying, hey, like, and talking more about like how she feels, like, this really hurts me that you think this way, and that you always make these comments about these different things about what I'm eating or what I'm not eating. So I think having that communication, having that conversation, and then evaluating it from there and kind of deciding. But so many people now, like, meaningful conversations take place over a text message these days, which is kind of sad. So hopefully that Reddit feed, someone gave her that advice and said, hey, like, why don't you actually just have a conversation and let her know how you feel, and
Yeah.
then kind of move forward from there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, a lot of people said, I like some people like suggested ending the friendship, and some people suggested saying things like my choices aren't a criticism of yours, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
criticizing your choices with my choices. uh and some people did suggest having a conversation, but um I
I've experienced that quite a few times throughout my life, though,
I
because I
was
am,
wondering.
people consider me like a health nut, because when I used to work like a corporate 9 to 5, I would be the one bringing my homemade salads and my soups and my stews that I made, and people would always make comments about it. And I just always thought, you know what? They just want to eat what I'm eating because it's damn delicious. So I do. And obviously, these were just my coworkers, but I have definitely experienced that with friends over the years that felt exactly how that girl's best friend felt. And now I feel like my core group of girlfriends, there's like 6 of us, we're actually all in alignment. We are all wellness practitioners. we all do the things, and we've traveled together, and it's amazing how we've just all kind of come to, like, the universe kind of brought us together. So like when I think of my closest friends are actually all on the same wellness path as me, which is kind of cool. So the friendships that were kind of like that friendship that girl has with her best friend, those I don't really have many of those. Are more like fringe friends now. They're not like my closest people, and that just kind of happened naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm actually really curious, if you don't mind me asking, what do you remember about how those friendships began? And I don't mean how you like met these people,
Hmm.
but what do you remember about how you started to get to know them and like vice versa? I'm just curious.
Like, what were the kinds of things we did together, or?
Yeah, yeah. Just what do you remember about that? And I'll tell you a little bit of why is because so I think sometimes people hear stories like that and they're like, great, but how? How do I make
Mm,
friends with these this that are aligned and like so I'm just there's no right or wrong answer. I'm not
yeah,
like
yeah,
trying to pop quiz you, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just curious, like what do you remember about the beginning of those friendships?
Yeah, so some of those friendships started actually online, connecting with other women that had similar passions to me. And also in school, when I went to school to study nutrition, I think of one of my closest friends, Megan, and she's also a nutritionist. And we we really nourished that relationship by like going out on walking dates, like going for a nature walk. Um, in the earlier days, there was this core group of us, these 5 or 6 girls. We would get together like once a month and have like a healthy potluck. And then
Mm-hmm.
we would just like talk for like 5 hours. So it was just like, it was kind of like a slow burn with like all of these girls. And now we're so close. So I think online was a simple way to meet people, which can be tough because if you meet someone, they live on the other side of the country. However, my best friend, I live in Toronto, Canada, and my very best friend lives in Philly. And her and I voice note each other because we have different schedules literally every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's literally just like, good morning, I love you, I hope you have an amazing day. And I have to tell you, just having that like connection with her, because I haven't seen her since March. And I, before that, hadn't seen her in like 2 years. Like just having that like little connection every morning just it's like so good for my day. I just love it so much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it too. I love it too. And it helps show everybody too, like how easy it can be. And I just appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that. Oh, makes me so excited. Okay. So I have one more for you, and then a question that somebody posted that I found that I thought was really interesting. And this one is also from Am I the Asshole? And it says, Am I the asshole for telling my overweight friend that I maintain my body through a healthy lifestyle and not genetics? So a few years back, 7 of my friends from high school and I decided that no matter what, like where we lived or how busy we were going to meet each other for brunch once a year for the rest of our lives. We don't have an exact date, but we usually pick a week in June or July when it's warm, and we fly/drive to our hometown for bottomless brunch at our favorite spot. Keep in mind that for some of us, this is the only time of year that we see each other. And I, in particular, live 2,500 miles away, so I hardly see any of these girls. Regardless, it's always a good time until recently when one of my friends, I'm going to call her Rue, would not stop commenting on my food intake. So, for some background, I am and always have been a very active person. I ran track and cross country in our college, and I now compete in ultra marathons. For this reason, I eat a lot of calories and I stay pretty thin. I also eat reasonably healthy, balanced meals most of the time. However, one day a year at our favorite restaurant, nothing is off limits. I eat a plate of I eat a heaping plate of cheesy eggs, pancakes, hash brown, sausage. Literally, I could eat the entire menu. Rue has always been on the heavier side, and while I don't really pay attention to someone's weight changes or eating habits, Rue points it out. So I
Mm,
can't help but notice. Every year, I eat nothing but oatmeal and I keep getting bigger and bigger. And me is over there gorging herself and is stick thin. It's like every calorie that I eat ends up on my body, like the
Mm,
Rue's body.
right.
So friends started to chime in, saying that I was lucky to have such good genetics and that I could eat whatever I want. This really bothered me in part because it completely invalidated the work I do to maintain my healthy body, but also because I could tell that Rue was frustrated with her weight, and I felt my friends were doing more harm than good. I explained that I normally don't eat like this and that I exercise very frequently, and that people shouldn't look at a snapshot of someone's life and think that's how they live on the daily. I said that eating salads for every meal and never enjoying a meal out with friends is just going to make her more frustrated, which will slow her progress. I thought this was going to be helpful advice, but my friends all looked at me livid. One of them called me incredibly privileged and said that I wasn't aware of my privilege and accused me of shaming Rue. The rest of them followed suit and told me to get off my high horse. Eventually, I had enough. I said I was just trying to help and that they're only going to hurt Rue. Rue was silent the whole time, and I packed up my things, paid my bill, and left. Now I'm feeling torn because it's been a few days and none of these people will talk to me. I reached out to a person in the group that I was the closest with, and she said I really overstepped and should apologize to the group and to at least Rue. I had good intentions, but these people won't talk to me, so maybe I screwed up. Did I? What do you
Okay,
think?
there's a lot to digest here. I need a confirmation on something. Did she tell her friend, she told her friend Rue what she should do? Like I kind of was, did
Mm-hmm.
she tell her this is what you need to do to get to a weight you want, or was she just saying like maybe if you eat a little bit healthier? Do you recall? There was a lot of information there.
There was it was a big bottomless breakfast of words and details here. But yeah, so she said I explained I normally don't eat like this. I also
Mm.
exercise frequently. And then she said I also eating salads for every meal and never enjoying a meal out with friends is just going to make her more frustrated, slow her progress. And I thought this was helpful advice, but everyone
Mm.
looked at me livid.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, there's a few things to think about here. To talk about, first of all, genetics are actually quite a small percentage of your wellness and how healthy you are. You know, it could be anywhere from 20 to 20%. So it's 20 to 25%. So that means about 80% of your health has to do with your lifestyle, how you eat, your social relationships, how you move your body, how much sleep you get. So the fact that her friends were kind of saying, oh, like it's just genetics, or her friend Rue feels like you're just this way because of genetics, I think that is not really fair. But, you know, her friend is coming from a place of frustration with her own body and her own wellness, feeling like her body is working against her. So I definitely have empathy for Rue and how she's feeling, because I can understand if she sees her friend gorging on this food and she's like, well, how can you eat that and then be so slim and not have any health issues, and I eat this and I'm not feeling my best. So I don't think either girl is an asshole. Was that the feed it
Mm-hmm.
was on? Am I an asshole?
Yeah.
I don't think either girl is an asshole. And I don't think it's really fair that none of her friends are speaking to her anymore. But I think like having that open communication and saying like, hey, um, I'm sorry that what I said made you feel a certain way. So I think, if that relationship with Rue is important to her, I think having that conversation and saying, I'm sorry if whatever hurt you. But I think it's similar to the previous story, 2 stories ago,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes our friends feel threatened, and it could be jealousy. It could be just, like you said, insecurity. It could be, just wanting to be that way too, and not knowing how to get there. Um, when it comes to privilege, it's an interesting one, because I feel like if this girl was saying, I only eat organic food, and, the eggs that I eat are from the farmer next door, and everything I eat is so perfect and of the best quality, I think that reeks privilege. But if you're just, focusing on a wholesome diet, moving your body, which is free, making sure you get a good sleep, also free, then I don't think those have to be. things of privilege. And I wonder if her friend Rue has those things available to her as well, but she's just not choosing to, make herself a priority.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I think, and I've seen this, and we don't know, right? We don't know this person, but I've seen this happen a lot, like even in my own circle or just conversations online. I had a client that was involved in like a community that talked about this a lot, and that was like binge eating. And so I'm wondering if something is going on with this friend because she says that I eat salad, or no, she said, I eat oatmeal like like I eat nothing all year but oatmeal and keep getting bigger and
Oh,
bigger.
sorry, that's what the girl Rue said. I eat
Yeah.
oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very valid point because if you eat a lot of women do this, they're good throughout the week and they eat so little and so little fat, so few calories, but that by the time the weekend comes, they're just binging and gorging on food because they've been restricting so much. Because when you restrict, it is going to fire up your appetite hormones and make you want to eat more. So, I do think, and I've seen this in practice myself as a nutrition. I don't work one on one with people anymore, but I used to have a lot of clients in the early days with eating disorders and binge eating. And when we would talk about what they were eating, always I would see so few calories during the day. And then at night, it
Mm.
just, at night they would just eat so much, such a volume of food. But we know that if you start your day out with protein and fat and carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, it's really setting the stage for good appetite regulation throughout the day and feeling good mentally and in your body as well, too. So, yeah, there could definitely be something going on with Rue that she hasn't expressed to her friends that is really preventing her from um, feeling her best.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that maybe what has happened was because this person said that they started to feel like invalidated because they were like, oh, and of course, we all want to feel seen. So I think that the original poster, the person that wrote in, I think that they were frustrated themselves because they wanted to feel seen. And it sounds like maybe they jumped the gun a bit because they start mentioning, like, they're like, these things are going to make you more frustrated. Like, it seems like she almost like jumped into like defending herself and like
Mm-hmm.
giving advice. And I'm wondering if maybe she is writing this because for everybody to look at you and be like, whoa, like, wondering if she's not realizing that this came off more condescending than
Yeah, for sure.
realized. Uh,
For sure.
so I do think that's something to like take into account because I think this person again was just like, well, hey, I want to be seen for the marathons that I'm running and the things that I do, and like these are my friends. So of course we want to be seen, we want to be witnessed, we want to be recognized. And so I'm wondering if that happened. I do think like some conversations are worth it and being like, hey, I really didn't mean to like offend, can you tell me about it? And
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think if she really wanted to help Rue, that's something that they could talk about privately. I also think that's such a vulnerable conversation to
Yes.
have in front of like a whole group of people. We're all about vulnerable conversations here, but like that is interesting. I'm really curious, Joy. So the question that I have for you is actually about like hormone imbalances. So I have I've had many friends, but I have a dear friend that I will like watch eat so healthy and like truly like is constantly teaching me things about nutrition. And because this person has like PCOS, which I
Mhm.
know that we're not asking for like medical advice here, but um they will literally do so well and nothing like changes. And then I think what happens for this person is then they get frustrated and they're like, well, screw it. Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I do think maybe like genetics is not the word, but I do think sometimes there are things going on in people's bodies that can make it harder. And I just, I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's many health conditions. I mean, look at hypothyroidism, for example. People who have a hypothyroid, like your thyroid is your body's thermostat, your body's metabolism. So if you have a low functioning thyroid, then your metabolism doesn't function at a rate like you and I. So it's going to be so much harder for you to burn fat and to utilize carbohydrates as energy instead of storing them as fat. So yeah, I mean, weight loss is not as simple as just eat well, exercise, get enough sleep. It is so much more than that. And if you do have a condition like PCOS, PCOS is very tied in with insulin resistance and how your body uses blood glucose. So it's definitely more complicated for your friend. So I think in those kinds of cases, when it's more complicated and you feel like you're not reaching your health goals, I think it's really important to work with a wellness practitioner like a naturopathic doctor or a holistic nutritionist who can work with you to really support your hormones, to support your blood sugar. That's really key because what's happening when you don't have good balanced blood sugar and you are eating carbohydrates, your body is going to store more of that glucose as fat than other people. So food will affect your friend with PCOS differently. That being said, you can heal your body from PCOS, but you really need to work with a practitioner who can, create the right nutrition plan for you and the right natural health supplements to really support you.
Yeah. Where would you recommend if somebody's listening and they're like, yeah, I really want to look into that? Where would you recommend that people look for a
Well, I think you
practitioner?
could just Google. Like, I think it's best to work with someone in person. So whatever city you live in, look for like a functional doctor, like an integrated practitioner. There's lots of doctors now who practice from a more holistic perspective. But then there's also, just Googling if you live in New York City, Google naturopathic doctor in New York City, read the reviews, ask them if they have any referrals, look at their IG because you can tell, are they legitimate? What is their philosophy? But ultimately, you really want to find someone that you align with. I think that's really key because there's a lot of practitioners out there and you don't want to just see one because that's who everybody is going to see this one guy who's in LA, who's working with all the celebrities. And you're like, I have to see him. Finding one that you actually align with because they've been helping people like yourself. And you know, there's so many amazing practitioners out there. And I no doubt your friend can find a good one in the city that she lives in just by doing like a quick Google search and
Yeah.
finding one that's local. That's preferable for sure to see someone in person, but if not, working with someone online I think can be beneficial as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, Joy, thank you so much for coming on the Socially Delightful
My pleasure.
podcast.
This was lots
Uh,
of fun.
yeah, if people want to find out more about you, see what you're up to, get your cookbook, which by the way, I was going through your recipes. I'm so excited about like your like maple like protein salad bowl. I'm gonna go try that.
Oh yeah, that's delicious. Oh,
I
good,
literally think I'm
good.
gonna try that on Sunday. Yeah. So yeah, where can people find you and learn more about you and check out your cookbooks and stuff?
Yeah, so my cookbooks are everywhere, like Amazon. They're easy to find. I have three of them: Joyous Detox, the Joyous Cookbook, which is my favorite one, and Joyous Health. My IG is Joyous Health, so it's JOYOUS. And as well, I have an organic beauty brand that I co-founded with my husband, and that's called Hello Joyous. And you can find us on IG and also hellojoyous.com.
Oh, so good. Is that your new baby?
Yes, we've been working on it for about a year and a half. And we're coming to a store in the US soon, but we have lots of customers actually in the US. Yeah, so we're just a year and a half. We're in about 90 stores in Canada right now, but most of our business is online. And we have free shipping when you spend 49 bucks. So it's totally worth it if you
Amazing.
live in the US.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
I'll send
And
you some products actually to check out.
I would die. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that is so amazing and so cool. I'm just rooting for you so big. So everybody go check that out. I'm going to link everything in the show notes for your ease. And thank you again for hanging out with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.